Welcome, football fans. We've survived another week. It's Saturday, time for another edition of Atlanta Sports Unlimited Show. Jackson Pigskins. This is Tom Pollen. Wanda Weidman will not be with us this week. She had a project that she needs to take care of for work and wasn't able to get away and be available for us, so had to work today. Been a wild week of work for me too, and has made it a little bit more difficult to put the show together on my end as far as what we're going to talk about and my notes as far as what I want to cover. But I'm going to do my best today with some limited resources, and hope you bear with me. And hey, if there is something you question or want to bring up, or maybe I made a mistake somewhere, hey, bring it up and we'll get it fixed. As I said, bear with me this week. It has not been an easy week as far as real life problems. But as we head into week 8, believe it or not, week 8, next week, we will be halfway through this thing. Just amazing to me that we are so far into the season. Week 9 will be November, and got a lot happening in the NFL. And one of the things that's happening here in week 8, coming up tomorrow in Raymond James Stadium, the Atlanta Falcons will head to Raymond James Stadium and take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for first place supremacy in the NFC South. Because as you remember, the Falcons have beaten the Bucs already this season. So they do have a game in hand, even though they are both 4-3. The Falcons are technically a game up in the NFC South. And I want to review a bit of what happened last week with the Bucs and Seattle Seahawks. I mean, with the Falcons and Seattle Seahawks and the Bucs and the Baltimore Ravens. Was a rough week for the NFC South last week. Let's just get it out there and be done with it. Starting the week with the Saints getting just trashed by Denver. The Saints got buried and just did not get better for the NFC South from there. The Falcons got spanked by the Seahawks, and I got a few things to say about that game and about some of the reactions that came out of that game. Because it was crazy. I was on X. Yeah, I know it's Twitter. To me, it's always going to be Twitter. You know, just like if you come here to Chicago, it's called the Sears Tower, and nobody calls it what it's supposed to be named now. It's always the Sears Tower. It's always going to be the Sears Tower. So with Twitter, I mean, it's always going to be Twitter, at least for me. Some of the fan reaction that I saw on Twitter, I just want to address real quick. Nothing severe. And, you know, kind of look ahead to this game against the Bucs and Falcons and see where we sit. Because the way things are going in the NFC South right now, this could be a game for, to determine the eventual winner of this division. If the Falcons win, they go 2 games up. They win the tiebreaker against Tampa, and they will be 5-3. Tampa will be 4-4. And basically, even with 1 game in the standings, but technically the Falcons will be ahead in the division by 2 games. Nice position to be in going into the second half of the season. So that's why I say this is a big game. This means a lot. because the way the Saints have been playing, the way the Saints look in this division now, they're 2-5. I don't know if the Saints are going to be able to come back the way they're playing. I didn't expect last week. I did not expect them to get steamrolled by the Denver Broncos, but that's the way it is. They were unfortunate in the fact that Derek Carr went down with an injury, and it seems to have affected them. Come on, Zozo. You want to co-host? Come here. So at least I should have one of my co-hosts. Come on. Yeah, come on. So Zozo's debating on whether she wants to appear on camera or not. We'll see. Hopefully we can get her on camera for you. At least I'll have a bit of a co-host here for part of the show. Come on, Zozo. Come on. You like being on camera. You love being on camera. Anyway, talking about last week's games, I watched the Falcons game and the Buccaneers game earlier in the week, and I rewatched them this morning just to have them fresh in mind to go on camera today. And last week for the Falcons, it seemed, I know it looks on paper. Yeah, Kirk Cousins didn't have a great game. I mean, we're not going to make big excuses for Kirk Cousins and the way that game went on, but it wasn't his loss. Come here, baby. Come on. You want to say hi. There she is. So, really was not Kirk Cousins' loss. Key penalties on the defense. And the defense, to me, had a terrible game. And that's where a lot of the problem came in, as far as I could see. And it's kind of been a problem all year for the Falcons. And it's going to hurt them. I think they can get through the season okay. But when they do make the playoffs, and let's be positive about it, when they do make the playoffs, the Falcons' defense has just been a huge Achilles heel. And I don't know if it's going to get much better, but we got to out of this defense that Raheem Morris and Lake have put together. But I will get into more of that too. Pantera chiming in this morning. Good to see him. This is a must win. Yeah, you got that right, Pantera. They lose today. They lose the tiebreaker advantage against the Buccaneers, and they fall back to 500. And considering how this team has played so far this year, that's not where we want them. That's not where we expect them. Of course, we expected more out of them last week, but as I say, key penalties, a lot of penalties last week, and costly penalties. A roughing the passer penalty against Grady Jarrett, a hands to the face penalty that gave the Buccaneers a first down. Just rough penalties that you don't want to see. Penalties, let's see. Falcons were penalized 9 times for 72 yards last week. That has got to get under control. So now one of the things the Falcons defense had as a disadvantage last week is they were facing a Seattle team that was finally rested. The Seahawks had played 3 games in 11 days. And, as much as the NFL wants to talk about safety, player safety, they had the Seahawks play 3 games in 11 days. And I think another team just did it. And I don't remember off the top of my head who it was. If anybody wants to chime in with that. But having a team do the Monday, Sunday, Thursday tour, it's just insane. And it's terrible for the players. And the Seahawks were gassed by the time they lost that Thursday night game. and they were finally rested. That mini rest, that mini bye week was what they needed. So the Falcons also on defense let Walker and let DK Metcalf just tear them up. Kenneth Walker just had a big game. He had 69 yards rushing, 25 yards receiving, and he had a touchdown each way. So, you end up with your offense having to play from behind, and that's a rough way to play the game. That's a rough way to go through a football game, having to play from behind from the start because your defense can't get a stop. And I thought the defense was better than that. I thought the Falcons' running game was very good last week. And it's unfortunate they couldn't stick with the running game more, but they fell too far behind. Because Bijan Robinson had some fantastic runs, a couple of fantastic runs that were a lot of fun to watch. Tyler Algier just running like the human bowling ball that he is. It's really amazing. Bijan had 21 rushes, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. Algier just 5 runs for 36 yards. But Algier made an impression on his runs. So, but you fall far behind. You get to a point where you almost feel you do have to throw, but you almost feel panicked because you have to throw. And the defense can start targeting your wide receivers. They can increase coverage. They can make better coverages because they know you have to throw. It becomes tougher to get the ball out, get the ball to your wide receivers that way. Now, I thought Cousins did do a good job of getting the ball to Drake London one time. He's a tall wide receiver. Cousins placed the ball high and went right through Drake London's hands and was intercepted. This is why you're drafting tall receivers. So Cousins can throw a ball that's higher up, out of the reach of defensive backs, but still within reach of where his wide receiver can get it. That was not on Cousins. The fumble was on Cousins for trying to throw that ball when he was just he should have pulled it back down, taken the sack, lived to fight another day. And that's a lot of what you want to see. Live to fight another day. And I think Cousins got a little anxious at that time too, and then airmailed another interception. So a couple of bad throws by Cousins. But again, you let the Seahawks get out ahead, and it became a lot tougher as the game went on. So, but I think the Falcons, again, go back to that run game again against Tampa. And why not? Because it, as I say, it was chewing up yards. It was doing a great job against Seattle's defense. And I would have liked to have seen them keep with that run game a little bit more. So a few things about last week's game from the Falcons against the Seattle Seahawks. A couple of reactions later, and I hope none of you watching the show, watching it on replay, feel that Michael Penix had an outstanding first NFL experience. I know there were people on Twitter who were like, yeah, Michael Penix, 1 for 1. He's got a 1,000 passing percentage. He's got a perfect passer rating. Guys, it was mop-up duty. All right. It was, and this is what developmental quarterbacks do. Mop-up duty. don't expect, and I know some fans were probably expecting Penix. Yeah, Penix won the starting job. He completed the pass. No, it was mop up duty. And please understand that. I know everybody's excited about Michael Penix and wanting him on the field, but these things take time. Let him learn. Don't rush him. Let Cousins, let's put it this way. If you want to make the postseason this year, and I know a lot of Falcons fans want that because it's been a while now. You want to make the postseason this year, it's got to be Cousins. All right? It's not going to be Michael Penix getting him there. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is for rookie quarterbacks. But, let him keep learning. Let him keep watching Cousins. Let him keep watching film with Cousins in the quarterback room. And let him keep going. But it was nice to see Penix actually getting some time on the field. In a bad situation, but he did get to take a few NFL snaps. And that was enjoyable. Just don't make more of it than what it was. Watched the Tampa Bay game and a few things that happened with Tampa Bay. And some things that I feel are going to be an advantage for the Falcons this week against Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers just got rolled. After they scored 10 points, the Baltimore Ravens showed what an outstanding team they are and showed why they are considered a Super Bowl contender. Lamar Jackson has really upped his passing game. And I know that was the big problem last year in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. Lamar was not passing well and really did not make up for it with his legs. But he has just been a whiz with in the passing game this year. I think Lamar Jackson right now is having a better year this season than he did last season when he won the NFL Most Valuable Player Award. I think he's been that good. So, but putting up 41 points, it was one thing for the Buccaneers to lose Mike Evans last week. That was rough. However, you're down 10 points. You only have a minute left. And now you decide that all your starters are still in the game. Chris Godwin's still in the game. Why is Chris Godwin still in the game? Just insane, because Godwin is now out for the season, broken tibia. And that's it. This week, you're not going to have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in this game. And that's going to be hell for this Bucs offense. And I think the Falcons defense should come ready to play this week because, the Buccaneers have Kate Otten, but they're throwing a lot of young receivers out who really don't have that kind of experience. Baker Mayfield saying the right things. Next man up. Yeah, Baker, I'm with you on that. It's always next man up. But you're trying to replace two of the best receivers in the game in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And that's going to be rough to do. And that's going to be an advantage for the Atlanta Falcons this week. Two guys you don't have to watch for. You can pretty well concentrate on Tampa's running game and Kate Otten in the passing game. Now, Justin Simmons, I hear, is going to be out. He went from questionable to doubtful this week on the injury report. And I don't think he's going to play this week. I'm not as worried about that as I am about the Buccaneers losing their two big receivers. Because no matter who you put out there, you're not going to replace the production of Evans and Godwin. Evans and Godwin have close to half the targets in Tampa Bay's passing game so far this season. Put Evans, Godwin, and Otton together, and that is over half the targets. With just three guys in the Tampa Bay passing game, two of them are going to be gone this week. So, a rough deal for Tampa Bay heading into this game. And Bucky Irving is, from what I understand, Bucky Irving is questionable, and he leads the Buccaneers rushing attack. He has a hamstring problem, which is going to make it rough for Tampa, but he's averaging 5.2 yards per attempt. Really picked up Tampa's running game from where they were last year. Rachaad White, just not the runner that Bucky Irving has shown to be so far this season. So the Falcons are fortunate. They can concentrate their defense on certain players. I do like the Falcons' offense coming into this game. As I said, you run into situations when you're trying to come from behind and come from behind as deep as the Falcons were last week. So don't give up on this offense. I think there's a lot of juice left in this Falcons offense, and I do think they need to get Kirk Cousins a little bit cleaner in the pocket, because that's, for sure from what we've seen so far this year, Cousins is not going to cover anything. He's not getting away from anybody. Even when Cousins tries to roll out, this is not a man. Well, this wasn't a man with speed to begin with, and even slower now. So it's rough to see. But I think both teams are fairly even on defense as far as the way they defend the run, defend the pass. But I think the advantage is going to come because I think Todd Bowles might have blown his season last week. Having Chris Godwin in that game when there was no reason to keep going. At least Raheem Morris, by that time of the game, he had Penix in, he had McClellan in, he had Washington in. You get to a point where it's, come back next week, just take the beating, know that you got beat, go back to the film room, take a look at what you did wrong, what happened wrong, the things you did right, and you come out to fight again next week. Always live to fight again another week. Always live to fight again another play. That's what Cousins didn't do last week on that fumble return for a touch. On the fumble where, trying to get the ball out, even though he had a hand in his face. Again, go ahead, acknowledge that you've lost on that play, acknowledge that you've lost that week, and live to fight another day. And Todd Bowles didn't do that. Todd Bowles tried to keep it going and tried to, for some reason, or I don't know. Did he really feel he could get back in that game at that point? You're 10 points down. You already recovered one onside kick. Did he think that he was going to get down and recover another onside kick all in the space of 1 minute? Not from where the Buccaneers were on the field. I can tell you that. So, but not having Chris Godwin this week is just going to be an overwhelming loss for Tampa Bay. And this is what you got to take advantage of if you want to be a winner. You want to win this division? Your opponent's down, kick them when they're down. Kick Tampa Bay while they're down this week. Take advantage of it. Take control of this division. Wrap your hands around it and just shake it and just say the NFC South is ours. All right, that's the possibility. That's what the Falcons can do this week. One of the keys to the Falcons this week, and I've said this numerous times, and I don't know how many more times I can say it, but this Atlanta Falcons team, at some point, if they're going to be serious players or have serious thoughts about advancing in the playoffs, have got to do a better job on defense of creating negative pass plays. And that's where the big weakness of this defense is. Creating negative pass plays. They are 31st. Negative pass plays I'm referring to are sacks and interceptions. Negative pass plays. The Falcons are 31st in the league. Actually, they're tied with the Carolina Panthers for 31st in the league in generating sacks and generating Larry Orange. Yeah, heard there's a missing persons report on the Falcons pass rush. Boy, Larry Orange, you are right. Hey, Geno Smith had clean pockets to throw from. And any quarterback is going to tear you apart when you keep giving him clean pockets. So, but they say negative pass play, sacks, you're putting a quarterback behind the chains. Pressures are overrated. Quarterbacks can still complete passes if you put pressure on them, either roll out or move up in the pocket and still complete a pass to the receiver he has in mind. You know, sacks, you are putting your opponent behind the chains, period. And the Falcons are, just terrible at it. Some of the best teams in the NFL at creating negative pass plays. Denver Broncos, who are putting together, Bo Nix has had taken great advantage of Denver having a top defense in the league this season. Because Denver Broncos are second in negative pass plays. 12% of every drop, 12% of dropbacks against the Denver Broncos are either a sack or an interception. Houston Texans, playoff team. Bears, Packers, Vikings, Lions. The NFC North. All teams with winning records. All at the top of the league in negative pass plays. Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, they had a down week last week, but still one of the best teams in the NFL. Detroit Lions, 49ers, Jets, but it's not the Jets defense that's the problem in New York. It's their offense. It's Mr. It's never my fault, Aaron Rodgers, who is the problem with the Jets. And Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, is going to figure that out at some point. Or maybe Rodgers just has him brainwashed to the point where Woody Johnson just doesn't know. But if you want to be a serious contender in the NFL, They have got to find a pass rush. Matt Judon is not doing it for this team. He said he'd play this season on the final year of his contract and show, the NFL that he has earned another big contract to be a pass rusher, be a force on the defensive line. Well, he hasn't showed anybody anything yet. And maybe that's something, I don't know. I know we're about a week and a half away from the NFL trade deadline. And is there something the Falcons can do to bring in a pass rusher, bring in somebody who at least has an idea of what to do? Because right now, I think the Falcons are a playoff team, but they're not a team that's going to do damage in the playoffs unless they can get a consistent rush, get that negative pass play percentage up. Also, one of the things this Falcons defense does not do well is punch the ball out, punch the ball away from the ball carrier. It's not an opportunistic defense. And that's another thing the Falcons have to do because it helps your offense, gives you the ball in better field position, assures your offense that they don't have to drive 75, 80 yards every drive to get the ball into the end zone, or 50 to 60 yards to get the ball in the field goal range. Falcons do not get enough good enough starting field position. And that's because of their defense again. Good tacklers, good secondary. But they don't take advantage. They don't try to make opportunities on defense. And that's another thing that frustrates me about this Falcons team. It's frustrated me about them for a while, last 2-3 seasons. You've got to give your offense better opportunities on the field. And I don't think this offense gets enough opportunities, gets enough good opportunities, gets enough positive field position where they can make something happen. And I think it hurts the Falcons when they play winning teams or when they play a quality team like the Seahawks. Sometimes if your opponent's moving the ball on you, if you can knock the ball away, that's a big rush for you. That's a big letdown for your opponent's offense. And it's a big advantage for your offense, giving them a chance to drive 60 yards for a touchdown. Instead of having, get the ball at the 40 or 50, now you can drive. Now you can do everything. You can pass, you can do anything you want in the passing game, and you can run the ball very effectively. You can do anything if you get the ball in positive field position. And I don't think the Falcons do that enough. And it's going to be a problem. It'll be a problem this week if they don't do it. It's going to be a problem the rest of the year if they don't do it. But I think they have enough on offense to get them there anyway, to get them to the postseason. And it's a big step this week if the Falcons can come out, put last week behind them, and make it happen in Tampa. Take advantage of the Buccaneers' injuries and get Bijan running on the ground, pounding the ground again because he had a great game last week. And I think the Falcons do win. They're favored by 2.5 in Tampa Bay, and I say the Falcons are going to win. We're going to go into Mr. Thomas right now. I think we're going to run the show about 45 minutes today. Again, don't have Wanda. Wanda had to work this week. unfortunately. So that's why I'm here holding down the fort. We had Zozo here for a little bit, so that's always fun. Did not have a good week last week. The NFC South got beaten up last week. I got beaten up last week with my picks. Did not go well. So I had Miami +3. I thought Miami coming off their bye week. You look at the pieces they have in their offense. Shane was coming back, and they had Mostert. And Waddle and Hill are just waiting to be used. And they got beat by a team that had no business beating them. They got beat by the Indianapolis Colts by a team that everybody has been moving the ball against. And I think it's a rough go for the Dolphins. They're getting Tua Tagovailoa back this week. I'm not so sure that makes a difference. The way they're playing. I think McDaniel's job should be on the line. Because even with Tua out, my God, you got all these weapons you can use. You just got to get the ball to him. And I haven't watched enough Dolphins football. I don't know why they're not getting the ball to these guys. But with Tua back, well, no, they're playing Indianapolis this week. I'm sorry. Who did they play last week that I felt they should have beaten? My fault. No, yeah, they lost Indianapolis last week. They play the Cardinals this week. They should have beaten Indianapolis last week, but they didn't. I had the Rams -7 at the Raiders. Rams fell short. I had the Patriots. Patriots +6 against Jacksonville. And Drake May, I think, had a good game. But, man, that Patriots team is just awful around Drake May. There's a lot of work that has to be done with that Patriots team. And I don't know if Jared Mayo is the guy. Because their defense should not be as bad as it is. But they have been, and it's awful. So I'm taking the Packers, favored by 3.5 this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Packers could be looking ahead to their Week 9 game against the Detroit Lions. Right now, I think everybody in the NFC North is kind of looking at the Detroit Lions and wondering, how do we beat these guys? Because, man, Jared Goff has that offense clicking on all cylinders, and that defense is tough. Minnesota took advantage of that defense in ways last week, but I don't know. It's tough to shut the Lions down completely. You have a lot of good players on that team, a lot of playmakers. And you can take something away from Jared Goff and he'll beat you some other way. So, going to be tough. As I say, the Packers might be looking ahead to their Week 9 game against Detroit, but they also know they have to keep up with the Detroit Lions. And I think that's going to play a big part this week. I don't think they're going to overlook Jacksonville, and I think they beat a still very bad Jacksonville team. Yeah, Jacksonville beat the Patriots, but it's still a very bad Jacksonville team. And I don't think it's a team. I think Doug Peterson is going to find himself unemployed soon, probably before the end of the season. because Jacksonville still has to face, let's see, Packers. They got to face the Eagles, Vikings, Lions. So they have three of the top teams in the NFC North. They still have to play. They have to play the Texans. It's a rough schedule still coming up for Jacksonville. So I think Doug Peterson could find himself out of a job pretty quick. But again, Minnesota does not want to fall too far behind of Detroit. They are not going to overlook Jacksonville. Take the Packers minus the 3.5. Ravens -8 versus the Cleveland Browns. Again, Ravens coming off a big win on Monday night. Short week. But this Browns team is just terrible. Why Jameis Winston was not the number 2 quarterback last week and was not able to go in the game when Deshaun Watson got hurt is beyond me. Why you have Dorian Green-Thompson as your number 2 quarterback, Jameis Winston as your emergency quarterback, just I don't get it. And I think that's just another bonehead move by Kevin Stefanski. And I don't think Stefanski. I think he survives the season. I don't think Stefanski makes it past Black Monday in the NFL. So that's another prediction from Nostradamus here. And I have the Saints +7. They're getting favored by 7 against they're underdogs by 7 points against the Los Angeles Chargers in Los Angeles in SoFi Stadium. And I think the Chargers were why the Chargers could not put anything in the end zone last week against Arizona. And Arizona is not that great on defense that they could hold a team out of the end zone the way they did the Chargers. There are problems with the way that Chargers offense is operating right now. I think everybody's starting to catch up to Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman's philosophy about pounding the football and running the ball and just trying to beat up teams at the line of scrimmage. Arizona did not allow it last week, and I don't think the Saints will allow it this week. I do not think the Saints win that game. However, 7 is a lot of points, and I would hate to be giving 7 points against the Chargers this week. Or I would hate, if I were the Chargers, I don't want to be giving 7 points. There's too many points for a team like the Chargers and the way they're playing. And that's it for the show. That's all I have for you today. Again, glad you were able to join me here on a Saturday. As I say, I always enjoy spending some time with you and love having you with me here. Let's see. Pantera had another question. I missed this one. Is D. Watson done in the NFL? Not as long as he is making that kind of money. Let's put it this way. He might be done with every NFL team, but I think the Browns are going to try and find some way to salvage him because they are just paying him way too much money. And, terrible contract, and I think they're going to get beaten up. That's the way it is. So anyway, great to have you here with me. If you've watched the show on the replay, glad you took the time to watch. Looking forward to having Wanda with me again next week. And everyone, have a great week.